Blink your eyes closed. Feel your seat beneath you and your tall, radiating spine, growing brighter and taller and more luminous with each breath you take as you share this space with other radiant, beautiful beings. Acknowledge how many times you've been in this space, this sacred space of being connected to your heart, surrounded by others, connected to theirs. And allow yourself to feel the excitement and the anticipation and the hopefulness that comes with being able to do this again, today, right now, and in the future. Take a deep breath in. And then open your eyes. Good morning. Welcome to December 24th. Let's talk about love. It's one of our favorite and most popular topics here at Perennial. And what I want to say about love is that it has two sides to it. The experience of being in love requires us to take a risk. Unlike joy and happiness and feeling a sense of belonging and connected and being in a state of creativity, which only has an upside, or unlike despair or grief or sorrow or longing that only has a downside, love requires us to go into it and be in it, recognizing that it cuts both ways. Love is capable of taking us into exhilarating highs and just tumultuous lows. So the willingness to practice love, to be love, to go into a state of love with ourselves and with other people and with life itself requires us to make the decision to take the risk to experience it all. I know that when I look around at all of you, that all of you have experienced heartbreak a time or two. It just comes with being a human being. The question I want to ask you is, has 2020 been heartbreaking? How many would, with a show of hands or some kind of honoring salute, would say, yes, 2020 has been heartbreaking, right? So the question is, what do we do about that? 2020 has been heartbreaking for each of us in different ways. All of us have shared the heartbreaking experience of a pandemic that is not in the rearview mirror yet. Let's be honest about that. But this pandemic has brought great pain and suffering in different ways to all of us. Children have had their educations upended. Older adults have had to spend lots and lots of time shut in, away from the people they love. Many of us have experienced illness And symptoms have ranged from mild to severe, and in some cases, those symptoms linger and continue to cause health problems for some of us. Unfortunately, some of us have lost, many of us have lost our life, and more will lose their life before this is all over. Some of us are here today recognizing that someone that we loved dearly will not be with us this Christmas or into the future. Businesses have had their ordeal through this pandemic. Some have closed and will never reopen. Others are struggling to stay open. And with that comes the livelihood of lots of people who depend on those businesses to feed themselves and their families, to maintain a home. And as we come into the end of 2020, or really for some time now, we know that this financial situation of this pandemic is leading some people to live with real fear of how they are going to not go hungry or not go homeless. The other heartbreaking part of 2020 is the racial injustice that has been exposed. Injustice that started before 2020, hundreds of years ago. And what is heartbreaking about 2020 is that we have to honestly come to terms with how much progress is yet to be done in that area. 2020 had brought it to the surface, what has been there all along, and we just need to sit in that pain and that recognition of how much is left to do. I could go on and on about the heartbreaking parts of 2020. I know you all know them. Okay? And I know you have all experienced it in your own way, individually, and you know people when you look out into your circle of family and friends and your community, and certainly this one, where we can see that this pain, this suffering is pervasive. And that pain and that suffering is where we find ourselves sitting right now on December 24th. And what I want to ask you is to acknowledge that pain, acknowledge that heartbreak, and then ask yourself if you're ready to make the choice that we have to make, or the decision that we have to make every time we find ourselves in a place of heartbreak is, do we let this heartbreak wall off our heart, close us down, and make us retreat from our life and from other people in a way that we believe could protect us from love and from heartbreak? Or do we use this time and make the decision to go forward, allowing the heartbreak to be the place where this light inside of us can pour out? This light inside of us can be what pulls us forward into a better way of being ourselves, and a better way of being with each other. So that is the precipice I would invite us to see ourselves at right now. And what I would like to do is give you some minutes that will just start the process for each of us of writing a love letter to 2021 and beyond. So you can blink your eyes closed if you prefer. Or I know for some of you, looking at a tree on a hillside is an important part of your practice here at Perennial. So I'd like you to imagine that you are sitting where you are right now, but it's the year 2040. And 20 years have passed since this epic year. And you have taken out of a drawer or a chest somewhere nearby where you're sitting, a letter that you wrote to yourself, a letter that you wrote to the world in December of 2020. And the first line of that letter says, I came to understand that it's always darkest right before the dawn. I made a decision in December of 2020 to go forward in my life, choosing love. I came to accept that love means being willing to feel terrible pain and glorious beauty all at once. In this letter that you are writing, you come to read that you have moved through 2020 and 2021, believing in the power of love again. You acknowledge that there were times at the end of 2020 that you didn't know yet how to go forward. You felt stuck in your pain and your heartbreak. Your heart felt clenched by fear at times. And you felt inadequate at times, not knowing which way to begin. But also in this letter, you wrote that you knew the power of community. Somewhere in your heart, you knew that you needed to gather together your tribe. So that's what you did. As you moved in to 2021 and the light started to get a little brighter, you made your way forward. You stepped out of your home and out of your heart and into spaces and with others who mirrored your desire to find love again and to be love again. You knew deep in your heart that you couldn't do this transformative work alone. So you found your community. And as you come to the end of the reading of this letter you wrote to yourself, you admit that you found great gratitude for all the sorrow and all the pain that 2020 brought you. Because it was through that pain and through that sorrow and through that heartbreak that you found a higher love. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. Set your letter down and pick up your heart and commit yourself to going forward. Here's what I want to add before we close. As yogis, we honor this divine light that lives inside each of us. Every time we say namaste, for example, we acknowledge that the light that's inside of me is the same light and love that's inside of you. And Thich Nhat Hanh talked about how the guru of the future is going to be community. The guru of the future is going to be this idea that we realize that our teacher and our guide and our healer is coming together in community, creating a web, an interconnectedness of energy and love that pulls all of us forward. I am so excited, believe it or not, at this moment to use all of the heartbreak of 2020 to pull us forward as a community. Okay? December 25th is the day that Christians use to celebrate the birth of a light, the birth of the ultimate yogi, I would say, Jesus. And there is, a quote or a verse in the Bible where Jesus talks to his disciples right before his crucifixion about the great works that he has done. And he says that all of you, meaning all of us, will do even greater works than these. And I've been thinking a lot about that verse and what Jesus could possibly mean. How could we possibly do greater works than such an amazing expression of divine love? And here is what is a possibility for what that phrase or that verse means, okay? Jesus lived, it is said, for only about 30 years, and he really only preached or impacted humanity as a teacher for 3 years. And in that time, because he just lived on a small part of the planet, and he really only reached a few people, and obviously his message lives on today and is unbelievably powerful. But each of us has this opportunity to pick up that great work, to do the work of coming from our heart space, using our brokenheartedness to do this work. And when many of us are doing this work, greater work will be the result. So again, it speaks to the power of love individually in our own lives and how we can use it to transform our own life. But when we bring that together and we harness that love and create a collective energetic wave, there is no stopping that wave. There is no force of darkness that is capable of enduring that kind of wave of light coming at it. That's what I believe as we sit here, still in the dark, but able to see that light on the horizon, that light that's coming in the form of a vaccine, that light that is coming in the form of new leadership, but mostly the light that is coming in the form of each of us individually waking up. We sit right now at an amazingly potent time. We are entering into the age of Aquarius, which was written about and sung about in the 60s, but most would say that it is in front of us. So I leave you with this idea that everything is aligned. Everything is aligned for us to go forward in love. Thank you for spending December 24th with me. It would be a really difficult day for me if I had not started it this way. From my heart to you, I say thank you. Namaste, everyone.